this is the time. This is your time to shine, to show the committee that you need me. You need me, baby. You need me, okay? So this is it. Hi everyone, my name is Sutra and welcome to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing how to get into PA school and everything you need to know. I remember when I was first applying that I was looking for videos on YouTube, like just for what to do. And I did find a couple videos, but a lot of them were not recent and I didn't see anyone that looked like me. So I have my laptop here to guide me because I don't want to go on a tangent. I had a lot of questions that were asked on my social media. Like when I first started PA school, I realized how many people were interested in what is a PA, how I got into PA school. So I'm just gonna focus on what to do to get into PA school right now. So let's get straight into it. The first thing is to make sure that you plan ahead. So as soon as you know that you want to be a physician assistant, make yourself a schedule and find out everything you need to do leading up to the application cycle to make sure that you can get your application in early, because I do believe applying early does give you a better chance. And number two is to do your research. Make sure you research every school that you want to apply to, or any school that interests you, even the schools you might not want to apply to at first, because you never know, those might be the schools that your credentials match up for. So what I recommend is making a spreadsheet and have all the schools on top, and then put check boxes next to everything that you do have the qualifications for. This way you're making sure that you're not wasting your time and you're not wasting your money when you're applying to these schools, so that you have a higher chance of getting in and you're not just applying blindly. Because I do know a lot of other students that when applying to PA school, they just applied to schools that they wanted to go to, but they didn't look at the requirements. Sometimes you'll have to take a class. And if you do have to take a class, don't worry. I know when I was applying to PA school, there were some classes, well, there was one class that I didn't have. I think it was microbiology, and I did have to take it after graduating, which is totally normal, totally fine. Don't fret, you'll be fine. Just take it after you graduate. The third advice and tip that I have is be yourself in your application and during your interview. So make sure you're telling the truth. You know, if you have a little white lie here and there, that's fine, because you know we gotta boost ourselves up a bit, you know. But make sure you actually know what's on your application, because they will ask you questions from your application and you want to know what it is, and you want to know how you can speak about it and have more details about it. And it's also just easier if you're yourself, because then you're telling the truth, and being yourself is like, you're unique. So be yourself, show what your mama gave you, and you know, like, you'll be fine. So this is something that I've gotten a lot of questions about, so I just grouped it all together, like the GRE, the PACAT, your GPA, and your overall grades. So the GRE is important when going into any master's program, but I will say for PA school, I think it's one of the least important aspects of your application. Not because the GRE itself is not important, only because there's so many things in your application that showcase who you are as a student and as a person, that I feel like the GRE is more for, let's say if you have like a lower GPA, then you would want to do better on the GRE because you want to kind of like balance them out. But I think a good score would be trying to get anything average and a little bit above. You don't have to get the top score for the GRE. This is not the MCAT, okay? Like, it's the GRE, you will be fine, I promise you. You do not have to take it again if you get like a 304. I think those are the scores. Those were the scores when I was graduating, or when I took it. The PACAT, so it's like their version of the MCAT for getting into PA school. And this is like newer, they're adding it to the applications. Not every school has it. All the schools I applied to, I made sure to apply to schools that did not require the PACAT, because your girl was not trying to go through all that, okay? I was like, I'm already working really hard, like, to get into PA school, like, you know, I'm not trying to add this to my plate. But if you do have a school that you really want to go to and it does like require the PACAT, I'm not well versed on the scores and what you should get, but that is something else that a lot of schools are starting to require. So definitely, like I said, do your research on the schools you want to go to and what is their average score, and again, try to hit their average score or like a little bit higher. Average if your application is strong elsewhere, a little bit higher if you feel like you have some weak spots, especially related to your academics, like your grades and your GPA. So your GPA, again, so my same rule of thumb, 3.5, you're good. And also your science GPA is also really important. I know, like, I had a 3.5 regular GPA and a 3.6 science GPA. So I think that helped me. You don't have to be like super excellent, but definitely competitive, because it is getting more and more competitive to get into PA school. And I want you guys to get into PA school. Don't think it's impossible. You can do it. If you feel like any of these numbers that I'm saying are not speaking to you right now and you're scared, don't worry. There's other places in your application where you can shine like the bright star that I know you are. So don't worry, because I'm here to help you. So also your grades, you are gonna have to put your transcript into the CASPA application. Make sure you put in your correct grades, because they will fact check you, okay? So next, number 5, I wanna talk about volunteering and your extracurriculars. So it is important, like I was saying, if there are any parts of your application that you feel like are not that strong, for example, like your academics, like you feel like your GPA is not where you would like it to be, you can definitely boost your application with your volunteering and your extracurriculars. So you also want to make sure that anything in your application you can tie back to why you want to be a physician assistant, why these experiences have made you a good candidate to be a physician assistant or a good physician assistant student, and like the healthcare field in general. Nothing in your application should be there just to fill in space. Everything is an opportunity for you to show the committee why you need to be a part of their program and why you're confident in yourself that you would be a good addition to their program. For example, if you were vice president of, let's say, an organization during undergrad, you can say, as vice president, I held these were my duties, point 1, point 2, point 3. In these duties, I realized how much I love to collaborate with others. In my collaboration, I learned yada, yada, yada. I can use these skills as a physician assistant to help me do such and such and such. And I know as a physician assistant, it's a lot of collaboration, working interprofessional with other medical professions. You get what I'm saying? Like, you want to make sure everything ties in well. You don't just want to throw stuff. Even if you were a part of a soccer team, girl, boy, make it work. Like, everything is for a purpose. You're here to get into PA school, and tunnel vision, baby, tunnel vision. We're getting into PA school. That's what we're doing. Next is patient care hours. This is very important. We're getting into what the committee is looking at, sis. So pay attention, jot this down. What I say is try to get at least 2,000 hours. 2,000 hours is about like a year's time of work. You want to show that you've been a part of the medical field. You know what it takes. You know how to manage your time wisely. You know how to work with patients. You know how to work with other medical professionals. And each school has different requirements for the time minimum that they require. Some schools don't have a minimum. Some schools don't even require patient care hours. But I think that even if a school does not require patient care hours, you should still have patient care hours, because it's gonna make you a much more competitive applicant, which is what we want. Like, we're trying to get into PA school. So next is shadowing. So I think shadowing is also very important, trying to shadow a PA. I know that you can also shadow an MD or an MP, but it does hold more weight on your application if you do shadow a physician assistant, because it shows that you took the initiative to learn what it is to be a physician assistant before starting, which means like, you know, this is what you want. You've tested out other professions. You know that this is where you belong and this is where your heart is. And also, when you do shadow a physician assistant, you get to talk to that person and you kind of get to have like their perspective on what it is like to be a physician assistant, to work in collaboration with a physician and with other professions. And you can kind of have like that firsthand experience of if this is what you really want to do. And you can also use that person to write you a letter of recommendation, which is always good. You know, having a physician assistant that writes you a letter of recommendation is always a plus, because they can say that, hey, I feel like this person would be a great addition to our field, and you would be. For shadowing, I had about 500 hours. I feel like that's good because shadowing sometimes is more of a recommendation than a requirement, but I think 500 hours is a solid number. So next are letters of recommendations, which are also very important. I think with letters of recommendation, who writes your letter does hold some weight to the application committee. So admissions committee, application committee, I don't know, the people that look at it, girl. So it does hold some weight, because let's say you like someone that actually truly knows you is important. You don't want to choose someone that you just met within 3 months and you guys barely have a relationship. They're not going to be able to write like a strong letter of recommendation for you. Even if the person is not a physician, let's say the person is your pastor or something, and you volunteer at your church and you've been volunteering there for 5 years, he has or she has like a better understanding of who you are as a person, how you deal with conflict, how you deal with others, and they can write a much better letter for you than someone who, let's say, was your professor for 3 months that barely knows you and you were just a number in their class. So choose your letter of recommendation wisely. Some people do allow you to write the letter yourself, you know, which is cool. But again, only someone who like really knows you would even give you that privilege. So it's also always good to have a physician assistant write your letter, a professor that truly knows you write your letter, anyone you volunteered with, like one of your bosses write your letter. As long as they know you really well, you should be good to go. So the last thing I want to talk about, and which I think is very important, is your personal statement. Honey, this is the time. This is your time to shine, to show the committee that you need me. You need me, baby. You need me, okay? So this is it. You want to make sure that you're being yourself. You want to hook them with like the first 2 to 3 sentences that you say. You want to make sure that they kind of have a sense of who you are. If you want to use humor, if you want to use like an example, you know, just want to hook them in right away. I remember for my letter, I was telling a story and I started with like a sentence that someone said as my story. Like, so you want to know where I'm going with this. You want to be like, okay, what is she about to say? You know? So you definitely want to hook them in, and you want to be yourself in your personal statement. And like I said, if there's any part in your application that you feel like is not that strong, you can talk about it in your personal statement. It shows that you are humble and that you might have messed up in one area and what you plan to do to fix it, or how you've changed and grown from this situation. So with that being said, that is everything that I feel like is important to know when applying to PA school. I hope that this video was super helpful for you guys. If it was helpful, please like the video. It'll allow me to make more videos like this for you. If there's anything specifically that you want to see, please leave me a comment. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask me, because I'm here to help you. Like I said, I'm really, really, really passionate about growing the physician assistant field and diversifying it, because if we want to diversify healthcare, we want to make healthcare better, it's important that the people who are treating us look like us and that we feel comfortable in the environments that we come into, which is very important. And remember, if after everything you still do not get into PA school, it is not the end of the world. I promise you, whatever is meant for you will be for you. Trust in God, trust in His plan, and you will be just fine. Thank you.